Welcome to r/Am I the Jerk, where OP finds out her boyfriend's been cheating with her mom. My little brother, who's 3, is actually my fiance's kid. My fiance, 25 male, and myself, 24 female, have been together since we were about 18. Honestly, he was always kind, handsome, funny, and everyone used to say I was so lucky to have the whole package. I felt lucky too. He always treated me with love and respect, so this makes everything just so shocking for me. I've always had a good relationship with my mom. It's always been her and I against the world. My dad passed when I was little. We always joked that we are the real-life characters from Gilmore Girls. My mom dated guys on and off, and they were usually cool, but nothing really past the early stages. Around 4 years ago, my mom told me she was pregnant, which was a huge surprise. My mom was around 42 years old, and although she was sort of dating someone recently, didn't meet the guy, but I knew they went on dates, it was still a big shock. She never thought she could be pregnant at her age. She had me when she was super young, and I could tell she was stressed and worried. I decided to support her since she had always supported me, and I tried to reassure her. She then had my brother, who's now 3. I have a close relationship with my brother. I've helped take care of him since he was born, and I just love the little guy. My fiance was also super helpful with my brother. We would take him out for ice cream, the playground, the pool, etc. But nothing was weird. He was just my then boyfriend spending time with my brother and I. Now to how I found out. My fiance and I lived together since we finished college. My fiance was not at home since he was hanging out with friends, but I was home because I didn't feel like going out and I just wanted to chill out on the sofa. At some point during binge watching a series on Netflix, my laptop died and I was too lazy to go get my charger, so I took my fiance's iPad. I know the password, but honestly I've never used it before. The iPad logged in and I got a bunch of messages. I guess he hadn't used it in a while. Anyways, this got my attention and I went to check it out, and of course I found everything. My mom's number wasn't under her name, but I recognized the number and verified it with my phone. She was telling him she felt guilty and that I should know. He said he also felt guilty but couldn't lose me, and they really messed up. She said that it was unfair for my brother to never know his dad, and it wasn't right for him to grow up thinking his dad was actually his brother-in-law. I broke down. What the heck? There weren't a lot of older messages, just some photos stored of my brother as a newborn, my mom when she was pregnant, and more photos of my brother growing up in an album. I couldn't anymore. I cried for what seemed like ages as I waited for my boyfriend to come back home. I wish I was one of those women that can pretend and get things together before confronting the cheater, but I can't. He came back later that night, and I just gave him the iPad with the conversation opened, and I saw his face completely go pale. I asked for an explanation. When? How? Why? And he didn't want to at first, but he knew he had to. Apparently, a few years back, while I was traveling with some friends, a girls' trip, my fiance and mom had dinner together. This isn't strange since he had been part of the family for so long. Sometimes mom and fiance would eat together at our place, even if I was busy with sports. I did the same with his parents. Somehow, unclear how since he couldn't explain it well, one thing led to another and they ended up hooking up. They felt guilty, but apparently not too guilty, because this happened 2 or 3 more times, using the excuse of meeting up to discuss how to tell me. Apparently, when my mom got pregnant, they stopped hooking up and decided to not tell me, since my fiance loved me and couldn't lose me, and my mom didn't want to lose her daughter. So here we are now, with 2 of the most disgusting humans. I obviously broke the engagement, told my mom to never talk to me again, and moved in with a friend. I feel bad for my brother since I really love him, but I can't be around him now. I just can't. I feel like it would only remind me of all those times we talked about having kids. I would be his baby mama, his only baby mama. We talked about this future since we were 17, so it makes me sick every time I think about how I've actually been taking care of his kid with someone else while still having those dreams. Update. As I was afraid, I was indeed confronted near my office this week. I knew this was coming, but I thought maybe I had more time. My ex was the person to come find me. Yesterday, after finishing work and walking to where my car was parked, my ex was sort of lingering around waiting. I thought about running, not gonna lie, but I guess in the moment I felt strong enough to get over with it, instead of having that hanging above my head waiting to be approached again. He asked if we could talk, and I said yes, but I didn't feel like having that conversation over coffee like we were old friends. It felt ridiculous, so I told him to just talk right there. We were in the streets, but somehow it wasn't crowded. He basically said sorry 100 times and that I deserved better. I agree. He said he did love me and that he still does, but he would understand why I wouldn't want anything to do with him. He said that if I did in fact consider giving him a chance, that he would go to therapy, alone or together, or both. and that he would work hard to win my trust back. I told him it wasn't possible. There was too much damage. This sounds calm when I type it, but in the moment, things came out loudly and harshly. Anyways, he did say that he's in the process of getting custody, partly, from my brother, and that he in fact does want to be a dad to him. He said he does not want to be together with my mom, that it was just a stupid mistake. He couldn't even explain why he did it in the first place. I think he doesn't even know why himself. I asked if he cheated with someone else before, and he said no. Not sure if I believe him, but he sounded honest. I asked why he didn't come clean, and he said that after he did the deed, he always felt panicked and it hits him that he could lose me, and he just didn't want to. I told him it was meant to be found out, and what was his plan? To have my brother around and ignore their relationship forever? He said he just hadn't thought that far ahead. I asked him if he felt that my mom tricked him, and he said no, it was mutual, which made me feel sick again. I asked if he had any contact with my mom since I found out. He said yes, but mostly about my brother. He said he told his parents the day before about everything. The parents were not happy, but they're glad to start building a relationship with my brother now, their grandkid. Honestly, all of this felt like a punch in the gut. I just don't know. The parents wanted to contact me, but he told them to wait until he approached me first, which is why he was here. He sounded and looked defeated, but the whole thing just made me sad and angry. I was mainly depressed before, but now I'm furious. I feel like he's still in an okay place, and he isn't paying for his actions beyond leaving me. He will have my brother, his parents, and others move on with his life, while I lost everything. I can't stand him. We parted ways not on a happy note, and I told him to never get near me again. I was done. He asked me to see my brother still, that I was important to him, and tried to guilt trip me, and it worked, but I still think I can't. I don't know much about my mom, and I really hope she doesn't come find me anytime soon because I'm fuming right now and I won't be able to handle it. I'll be contacting my family and friends and finally doing the exposing today. I think it's about time, and after my talk with him, I got the extra push I needed. Update. This is how it went down. I first posted on my family's Facebook group that we share. This is from my mom's family side. I used inspiration of what you all suggested in my last post and said something around the lines of, I want to communicate to you all that my wedding has been permanently canceled since I found out that my mom and my ex had in the last few years been hooking up, which resulted in the birth of my little brother. I had no clue of any of this, and I found out about it last week. I won't be having a relationship with them moving forward for obvious reasons. I would appreciate your understanding, and I felt it was only fair to let you know of the situation since I value transparency and honesty above all. It exploded. I had family reaching out via text and calling the whole day. I would say most were very supportive, and I could tell that they were just shocked. There were a few neutral and some suspicious that it wasn't the whole story and maybe I misunderstood. My grandparents were in the maybe you misunderstood category, which it wasn't surprising since my mom is super close to my grandparents, and like I said before, my mom was always a good mom. I will be moving in with a cousin that's more like a sister to me. I haven't reached out to her previously because I know that once she found out about it, everyone would. That's why I went to my friend's place. My cousin is devastated on my behalf and offered that I could live with her and her 2 kids until I get back on my feet. I accepted and I'll be moving next week. I'm a bit afraid that this will give my mom easier access to me, but I can't stay at my friend's place forever. I'm holding on for now. I don't cry every hour, but I'm still sad and upset, and it just feels like it isn't my life. This is a big joke or a bad dream, and I want to wake up to my normal life. I also need to really start planning my future and start applying for jobs in other cities, or maybe check the possibilities abroad more seriously. I might take 2 or 3 days off work to really get my thoughts together and do some research. I'm terrified, to be honest. I feel frozen, but I know I need to start moving. Would I be the jerk if I refused to wear contacts? I'm 19, female, and my cousin, who's 23, female, is getting married in a couple of weeks. I'm my cousin's maid of honor in her wedding, and we've grown up together and have been through so much together. She's like a big sister that I never had. When I was in 3rd grade, I started wearing glasses because I couldn't see far, and she was the first person to tell me that I looked beautiful in them because I was insecure about how I looked in them, and that now we could match because she also wore glasses. Well, fast forward to today, I went to see my cousin and her soon-to-be wife to talk about last-minute preparation of the wedding. When we started talking about pictures of the wedding, and this is where Jordan, my cousin's fiancé, told me that I should take off my glasses for the wedding and wear contacts instead because she doesn't want them to ruin her wedding photos and that I would look like an outcast and draw all of the attention to me since I would be the only one wearing glasses. To say that I was shocked was an understatement. I've always worn my glasses and I never take them off. I personally don't want to use contacts because it's so much work and I'm a forgetful person, so I might end up sleeping with them in or something like that. I told Jordan that I wouldn't be comfortable with it and that contacts cost money since I have to get them for my prescription, which would take a while, and that I'd be more comfortable wearing my glasses. She told me I'm being unreasonable and that my cousin is wearing contacts for the wedding, so I should be a good cousin and not ruin the wedding pictures. If not, she will tell my cousin to remove me from the wedding and I can just attend as a guest. My heart kind of broke when she said that to me. I know my cousin wouldn't care if I wore my glasses, so I'm here asking strangers for advice. Would I be the jerk if I don't wear contacts for my cousin's wedding? And should I tell my cousin about this conversation with Jordan? By the way, my cousin wasn't in the room when this conversation took place. She had gone to get us some food. Please help me out, and thank you. Not the jerk. There's no time to get contacts and get used to them, even if you agreed. And don't take the glasses off for the photos. You are who you look like with glasses. They're an assistive device. Talk to your cousin about this. OP. I understand that completely. I forgot to mention I did say I could take them off for the pictures, but she said I need to buy contacts or it won't be natural. Not the jerk. Don't get contacts for the wedding. That would be crazy. Tell your cousin what was said. Cousin needs to know Jordan's character, which is highly superficial. Prepare to be a guest if necessary. If cousin gives in to Jordan, something is wrong with the dynamics of the relationship. Update. So on Saturday, my cousin called me saying she wanted to talk to me about something. I figured that would be a good time to tell her everything that went down with Jordan. So we met at a park next to our grandparents' house, and when I got there, she was already waiting for me, but the vibe and energy seemed off. It was tense. I sat down in front of her, and no one said a word for like 30 seconds, but it felt like forever. Then my cousin finally spoke with tears running down her face, asking me why I wanted to drop out of the wedding and no longer be her maid of honor. I was completely taken back by what she just told me. I never once said I would drop out of the wedding, nor say I no longer wanted to be her maid of honor. As I was processing, she kept asking me whether I loved her or not. What did she do? Why do I not want to be in the wedding? Why did I miss all of the wedding events her and Jordan planned? Do I no longer value the relationship we've had and the stuff that we went through? After 5 minutes of calming her down, I explained that I never once said I'm dropping out of her wedding and that I do love her and value everything we've been through. I started crying because why would she think that after everything we've been through? And she told me that Jordan was the one who told her I said I no longer wanted to be in the wedding and that I had said I was busy for all of the events they had. I looked at her confused because what events was she talking about? My cousin saw my face and started to realize I didn't know what she was talking about, and she started talking about a barbecue and a weekend trip to Arizona. The whole wedding party went last month. I told my cousin I didn't know anything about this and I was never invited to it. I thought Jordan invited you. I never once got an invite or a message about any of this. I proceed to show my cousin my messages with Jordan and the group chat of the wedding party, and nothing was there about the trip or dropping out of the wedding. My cousin was shocked and started asking more questions like, "You didn't tell Jordan you wanted out of the wedding? When was the last time you talked to her? Why didn't you get invited?" I explained to my cousin the last time I had spoken with Jordan was when she told me about the contacts. I explained to her about how Jordan said if I don't get contacts, she'll tell her to kick me out of the wedding. I even showed my cousin the post and she was livid. She started going on and on about how Jordan would not stop bothering her about getting contacts for the wedding. And when my cousin would ask her why, Jordan would say, "It won't match the aesthetic of the wedding and it'll throw everything off." So finally, after weeks, she gave in and got the contacts. My cousin looked at me and said, "I could care less if you wear contacts. It's a part of who you are. I'm not going to stand for this." So after talking for about an hour, she left, and I just sat there shocked after everything was said and done. Later that day, around 12 a.m., I received a call from Jordan. At first I was confused because she doesn't call me, but I picked up thinking something happened. But no, it was her crying and screaming at me because I'm ruining her wedding and I'm being a selfish little jerk. After a minute of that, I just hung up. Then 5 minutes later, got a text from my cousin to go over to their house now. Once I got to the house, it was a mess. Stuff thrown on the floor, painting broken, dog toys all over the floor, glass everywhere. It looked like a tornado and an earthquake double-teamed on the house. But anyways, I walk into where my cousin and Jordan are sitting, and Jordan is just crying and screaming. Once she saw me, she started yelling at me and calling me every name in the book. My cousin had to tell Jordan to shut up, and once she did, everything came out in the open. Basically, Jordan doesn't like me and hates that me and my cousin are so close. She's been telling lies to my cousin about me to get her to hate me, as well as try to take my cousin from the family so she can have her to herself. Now Jordan has been blowing up my phone and her phone asking for forgiveness and to give her a second chance and wants to make things right. But I told my cousin if she wants to go through with the wedding, it's up to her. I know they've been together for 4 years now, and it can be hard leaving someone you gave your heart to. I broke off from a friend group that I've known for 7 years over a tab at Chili's. I, 20 female, have been friends with these two girls, Charlie, who's 20, and Alex, who's 19. We've been very close since middle school, and we get along and fangirl over the same anime, K-pop bands, artists, etc. One day we decided to go to our favorite spot, Chili's. We always separate the bill and there are 0 issues. However, Alex decides they want to invite a male friend, John, who's 18, which is fine with all of us. The food was good, per usual, then the server asks for split or one check. Then Charlie, who usually says it's separate every time we go out and eat, says, all one, which I thought it was just her feeling generous that day. But then they started giving John these grins. Charlie said, "John, you're paying for us all, just to be clear." John says, "What?" with a visible confusion on his face. Alex and Charlie giggle, get up, and they leave. They signaled me to go as well, but I was just as confused as John was. What just happened? Me and John sit there awkwardly. The check comes to $125, and I tell the server to give us a moment to provide payment. I only had enough for me, $30, and John only has enough for him, $40. Charlie texted in our group chat asking if I was coming with them. I told them, what are they doing? Then they went on some BS that John should want to impress us and that it's a man's role to treat us like princesses or something like that. I thought they were joking, but they were dead serious. And upon me going outside to physically confront them, they were serious because they left me and John with no ride and the tab. I asked my dad if he could spare me $60 and that he can just cut off my allowance for 2 weeks. I explained the situation, but he agreed with Alex and Charlie and said that this is John's problem now and not mine. It was like a scene out of a movie. I was in complete disbelief. I explained the situation to the server, who was super cool, and said if you can't produce the payment now, I can just leave a number and they can charge me tomorrow. Out of one last effort, I called my uncle for the money, and he immediately understood and sent me the money, and even said he would be there to pick me and John up. I paid the tab. I apologized heavily to John about the entire situation, but he was actually really chill and super grateful for what I was doing, because he only had $40 from his birthday money and decided to spend it with his friends. I get a text from Alex in the group chat asking if John paid for the tab. I said, no, I did, and they got mad at me. Then my dad asked what happened. I tell him the truth, that his brother paid for the tab, and he got mad at me. Do I live in the Twilight Zone? Am I crazy for not wanting to ruin a friend's life over Chili's? Anyways, after Alex saying, I'm just not going to invite guys to our plans anymore, I left the group chat and blocked Alex and Charlie. John also cut ties with them, and we've started talking more and more, and we sometimes play Fortnite together. Anyways, moral of the story, you think you know someone. Also, John and I didn't even know each other before this happened. Yes, I'm 20 and I still get a $50 weekly allowance. I'm actively looking for work. Some of you guys are antagonizing my dad, but yet want to act like mine for not working. People are asking why I didn't just pay for my own tab, give them my numbers, friends, or addresses, and call the police, yada yada. Is that what I should have done? 100%. But I felt like John was already visibly stressed about the situation, and I didn't want to escalate it to potentially more stress. I was thinking about John's well-being above everything else, and having someone else cover the rest of the money was the easiest solution for me. Probably not the right one, but the easiest for me and John. I'm a mom to girls and a boy who are around your age. This is so wrong of your so-called friends and your dad. I would be so angry if this happened to my son. At this age, everyone should pay for their own way unless otherwise stated. Am I the jerk for canceling my mother's planned visit after she billed me? My mother, who's 65, came to visit me, 39 female, her daughter, after I called her to share the news that I received some troubling news about my health. I'm on the mend, the worst is behind me. She lives approximately 2 hours away from me. During the visit, she signaled she planned to charge me for parking fees at the clinic she brought me to, among a couple of other expenses that she incurred helping me throughout the day. I was fine with that. She's not exactly swimming in money after retiring, though has some discretionary income, and I'm a grown-up. In fact, I would have taken care of the parking fees and other expenses myself at the time if I wasn't incapacitated, so totally fine and expected. Where I stopped being fine was when she called me after the visit asking for a lot more money than I'd expected. After probing a bit, I discovered that she had lumped in there an estimate of how much she had spent on gas to come visit me, and not just the pasta salad she bought for me at lunch, which was totally fine, but also the pasta salad she bought herself. I'm happy to treat her for lunch, and I often do. I treated her for dinner that very night, but I found it odd she would just go ahead and add her lunch to the bill. I hadn't offered, and aren't I the sick one? It was only $20 altogether. But the reason I canceled her visit tomorrow to come over and help some more was because I couldn't believe she'd pass on her gas expenses to me. When she said she was coming to visit after learning of my condition, she omitted the part of her plan where she had charged me for her gas to get here. Sure, she complained about the cost of gas when she arrived, but never did she share her plan to make me cover it. She's never done anything like this before. It's not the money, it's the principle, and I had no intention of paying for her to come visit me tomorrow too. I plan on sharing with her my feelings about all of this once I've given some thought to how I'll navigate it with her. I would feel so ashamed as a parent if the roles were reversed. This whole thing makes me question why I haven't billed her when I've gone to visit her after falling ill. Of course, I would never bring myself to actually do that. The thought of it makes me feel sick. So, am I the jerk for canceling her visit? First off, you're not the jerk for feeling upset about being billed for your mom's visit. That's a curveball nobody wants, especially when you're already dealing with health issues. Imagine being on a sinking ship and someone throws you a life preserver, then asks you to Venmo them for it. Not cool. Your mom, bless her heart, probably has her own set of financial worries and may have thought, hey, my daughter's a grown-up, she can chip in. But expecting you to cover her gas and lunch costs, especially without a heads up, is like inviting you to dinner and then handing you the check for the groceries. It's the surprise factor that stings more than the actual cost. You did the right thing by canceling her next visit. It's not about the $20 pasta salad. It's about setting boundaries and maintaining your self-respect. You deserve to recuperate without feeling like you need an accountant to handle family relationships. When you do have that conversation with her, approach it with empathy, but stand your ground. You might say something like, Mom, I understand money can be tight, but I was really taken aback when you asked me to cover all of those expenses. It made me feel like a client rather than your daughter, especially during such a tough time for me. If she didn't realize how it came across, this could be an eye-opener for her, and if she did, well, it's a good way to make it clear that this kind of transactional approach doesn't fly in your relationship. In the end, you're just questioning her actions, but also protecting your own emotional well-being. And in this scenario, that's not just okay, it's essential. Karen Squatter moves into my house while I'm gone. Now she's in jail. Santa Monica, California. I'm the owner of a 2-story house. I'd gone to Hawaii last week for a 1-week vacation with my wife. No one was at home, and it wasn't feasible for us to take 2 dogs with us, so I gave my house keys to a good friend of mine, and I asked him to take care of my 2 dogs. This would involve feeding them, changing water, and taking them out to walk 1 hour a day. So his girlfriend was in town, and she had no place to stay. He lives in a 1-bedroom condo with 2 other roommates. So he messaged me and asked if I would allow his girlfriend to stay at my home for just 1 night. I agreed, as it was just a matter of 1 night. Now, yesterday I came back and found out his girlfriend had made dwelling in my upper floor of my house. She's been staying here for 4 days. I asked her to leave immediately, but she and my friend are insisting to let her stay 1 more week because she's in search of a job in LA. I called the police. They came and said this would be a civil matter and I have to go through the eviction process. So I'm here with an unwanted stranger on my upper floor, a jerk friend who broke promises, and my upset wife. What to do, guys? Can I change locks and throw her stuff out when she's away? Cut the electricity to the upper floor? Update. So after reading all of the advice here and carefully discussing it with my cousin, we made a nasty plan. Yesterday night, that squatter girl went outside to grab some dinner with her boyfriend. Me and my cousin carefully packed all of her stuff into 3 bags, and we left it on the front porch and locked ourselves in the house. We also looked over her stuff from the window to make sure that no one stole it. Our wait was over after 2 hours when she returned. She figured it out and started pounding on our door, yelling loudly to open it. You know, typical squatter drama. We told her to buzz off and that we wouldn't open the door. So finally, after 30 minutes of constant drama, she dared to call the cops. I was nervous how it would turn out. The cops arrived, and fortunately, these were different ones than the previous night. First, they listened to her side, then they came to me. I explicitly told them that I was the sole owner of this house and I never allowed her to stay more than 1 night. She was not only trespassing, but also living in my house illegally without my permission. She kept saying I'd given her permission to stay there indefinitely and now I'm kicking her out. Officer asked if she had any proof of that. She claimed she had some text message which she had accidentally deleted. Now to the best part. Officer then asked her for an ID. She gave it. Officer verified it over the radio. Suddenly, they told him that this jerk had a failure to appear warrant for months-old shoplifting cases. Stupid lady was arrested immediately. All her stuff was sent to a friend's house. Officer said that I don't need to worry and they'll take care of her. I do not require any further action. So finally I'm relieved from that squatter and she's behind bars. Pure justice. I always thought evictions were used to handle unwanted guests that were living somewhere for 2 weeks to 30 days plus. Too bad the cops didn't stick her with a trespassing charge as well as the old shoplifting charge. How often do cops call something a civil matter just because they don't want to do paperwork? I swear, that's what every single one of these civil matter situations feels like. The one thing I've learned about these tenancy laws and squatters is just take their crap and throw it outside, call a locksmith, and put in security cameras. They want to call the police, okay, go for it. She doesn't live here, she has no proof of tenancy, and she's currently trespassing. Please get her off my property now. Done. If you call when they are in, they will always take the con artist's side, which they know, which is why they do it. Also, forget that friend, like he didn't know what his girlfriend was going to do. Forget them both. Am I wrong for expecting people to pay my kid? My kid, who's 9, has recently gotten into baking. She's really passionate about it, and it has sparked most of our family members to stimulate said passion by requesting her to bake small items they happen to be craving right as they're coming over or have invited us over. They're always very small things like, oh, I'd sure love some brownies, or similar. But since people are asking and complimenting her genuinely makes her heart smile, I only support it, and I don't mind paying for the ingredients. Now, one of my family members is hosting a gathering and asked my daughter to bake 75 cupcakes. They said they would take her shopping for the ingredients. She asked me if she could, and I said sure. I supervise the oven-related steps and have to be present. Afterwards, I contacted said family member to get some specifics as to allergies and other nonsense, and brought up the fact that she was so excited to have her very first paying customer. Said family member was apparently appalled at the expectation of paying my kid for hours of labor and stated that since she is a kid and doesn't have a genuine business yet, she shouldn't expect payment because taxes. I replied that if she feels that strong, she should have ordered from a genuine business because there's no way in any universe I'm going to let someone exploit her like that. She got mad and hung up on me. Now some additional info. I didn't expect a full hourly wage, just something extra to thank her for her hard work. She's been putting every cent she gets in allowance or earns towards more baking supplies. I expect she would have done the same with this money, but that's entirely up to her. If said family members decide not to pay, I'm still going to let her make the big order, pay her in full, and take the food down to a local food bank so she still gets the money and the experience. As fellow parents, how would you have approached this situation? I feel like I potentially robbed her of an experience she would have enjoyed out of personal principle. Edit. This is not a close family member. She's the kind of relative you only see at funerals or weddings. All the money that my kids earn goes to them 100%. Yes, I do pay them for the chores they do. No, I'm not trying to turn my daughter's hobby into a business. I'm only supporting and teaching her wherever she takes it. I do not feel any kind of strong emotion towards said relative. I don't dislike her at all, and we aren't American. Does your kid enjoy being with this relative? Sounds like it could have been just a fun afternoon activity with someone special while you're turning this person into a paying customer. I'd be insulted if I offered to my niece or granddaughter, whoever, that I bring them shopping for ingredients so we could do cupcakes together, and then I somehow turn into a paying customer. As for the exact count of 75, anytime I'm cooking with kids, I do so with the full understanding that I'll end up doing 92% of the work anyway. OP. She sees this person twice a year and has no relationship with her. 2. She promoted herself to customer, as according to my daughter, she said, "How would you like your very first customer?" 3. She would be baking them from home and I would be driving them to the event. The relative would not be involved. Even if she were to be, the only thing she needs help with is putting things in or taking them out of the oven. So she does 99% of the work herself. Did your kid expect to get paid? Yes, she did. The relative said, according to my daughter, "How would you like your very first customer?" My daughter isn't an idiot. Customers pay for services and goods. When she asked me if she was allowed to do that, she even offered to share the profits with me for supervising her, which I obviously declined. Sounds like you may have made a fun and pleasant experience a stressful one. As of now, she's still unaware of this. I'm going to resolve this. Either she bakes for the relative and gets paid by her, or she bakes for the food bank and gets paid by me. Update. I have set my daughter down and explained to her that the relative did not intend on paying her, that she was welcome to do the work for free if she so desired, but that she also was allowed to decline her request. We proceeded to have an entire discussion about the differences about doing someone a favor, like a pan of brownies, and labor, like catering an event. I emphasized it was her decision and she would have my help and support whichever way she went. She ended up asking if it were possible for her to attend the event instead of receiving payment so she could see the people eat her cupcakes and brag about making them, which the relative declined because it was a child-free event and she could not make exceptions. We both found this fair enough, and she requested a set of baking pans in sizes she doesn't have yet as payment, which the relative also declined because why should she give her gifts while it was the relative's time to be celebrated? She went on to say that my kid was ruining the party by refusing to do dessert because she counted on it. My daughter was starting to feel guilty and I stepped in, gave her a list of local bakeries and at-home bakers she could contact and wished her a fantastic day, reassured my kid, and we went to go shopping for the baking tins ourselves. About 2 hours later, the relative, undoubtedly having contacted bakers and bakeries, called and offered my daughter a gift card for a local shop that sells all kinds of cooking and baking supplies. She happily accepted, and we thought that was that. The relative really stepped her game up in making up for the nonsense, and she arranged for my kid and myself to supervise to be allowed in the venue's kitchen and make the cupcakes there, as the venue owners, who also cater the venue, thought this would be a good idea. I've ordered her very first apron, and she is beyond excited to experience a commercial kitchen, and watching her heart smile makes my mom heart happy. Do this next. Tap here on your screen to come see our new podcast playlist, where you'll find thousands of hours of the best stories you've ever heard. Or tap the one on the right. That episode is specifically just for you, based on other videos you've enjoyed the most.